Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Doug Shoemaker here with the Shoemaker Loan Team and the H.O.M.E Foundation. I'm here with my good friend Craig from the VFW. Craig, say hi to everybody.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me here, Doug.
Hey, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, man, about your military background and so on?
All right. So I'm a United States Marine. No such thing as a former one. I joined at age 17 way back when, did my 4 years, did a combat deployment, got out, went to college, and moved on to a different career path.
What was some of the most memorable things you did while you were in the military?
Yeah, so you would think it would be the combat deployments and things like that, and I mean those were memorable, but it's really about the friends that I made, way back over 30 years ago, and still remain friends to this day.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. I always see that with military, and it seems like first responders in general, the camaraderie that's formed there is pretty special. I was only in the military for a very short period of time in the Air Force Reserve, but that's probably the thing I miss the most is the camaraderie and, feeling like you belong to something.
Yeah.
Well, man, in your role with the VFW now, I guess, first of all, for a lot of our supporters and followers that aren't really completely aware of exactly what the VFW is and what they do, tell us just a little bit about the VFW.
Yeah, so the Veterans of Foreign Wars is it's a group of veterans, all that have deployed over to a combat zone, and not necessarily front lines, but in support roles and things like that. But their main thing is advocating for veterans' rights, through their lobbying efforts and things like that. But more important, it's just another, the actual physical building. It's a place for veterans to get together and just experience that camaraderie that they had, years ago, and just kind of stay in touch with the things that are really important in their lives.
Yeah, we see a lot of people talk about the transition from military life to civilian life, and it's nice that folks do have that place where they can still get together with people from their background and share those stories and share that camaraderie still.
All right.
Now, Craig, your role with the VFW is a veteran service officer. Tell me a little bit about that. What does that mean?
And so my role as a veteran service officer, I help veterans and in some cases their families, their surviving spouses, navigate the VA disability claims process. That's the main thing that I do.
Wow.
It's not so much difficult, but just understanding the process, on how to get a claim to go through. There's a lot of misconceptions people have about the VA disability claims process, and I dispel those myths, and I help the veteran or their dependents obtain their benefits in a much more timely and smooth manner.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of surviving spouses that probably don't even realize that benefit is available to them. So guys and girls out there, for any of you that may have friends that are the surviving spouse of a military member, and if they're needing some help, know that Craig's there. What days are you there again, Craig?
So I'm at the O'Fallon VFW every Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then I go over to the Metro East Vet Center in Swansea every Wednesday, 8 to 4.
Okay. Yeah. So again, handling this stuff alone is definitely not the right thing to do. So know that you've got somebody there to help you. What are, with the disability ratings, Craig, this is one, being in the mortgage industry that I hear talked about a lot. And frankly, a lot of companies get it wrong, in terms of how they're setting people's loans up because of their disability. I have a lot of clients who could qualify for disability. They just never applied before because they just don't think that they'll get approved, or I've heard folks say, well, I just don't feel like I deserve it. So many other people, were injured so much worse. I just don't feel like I deserve it. Speak to that for a second, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So because you served means that you could be entitled to veterans benefits. It doesn't matter. A lot of people, they talk about, well, my service, it was unremarkable, and there's nothing unremarkable about anybody's service. I mean, if we haven't had the draft since 1972, or I think cut off even before then, but most of the people I deal with are voluntary service. So just the mere fact, and whether you were active duty, reserve, that you raised your hand and volunteered for service makes you eligible for veterans benefits. And I have friends that have been wounded in action, clients that I've helped out, and they don't think anything less of anybody applying for those benefits. Nobody's taken anything away from anybody else. There is plenty of funding available, and that's what the VFW does to ensure that that money is there. And it's just, you earned it. So, not everybody would qualify for disability benefits. However, you'll definitely not get any benefits awarded if you don't ask.
That's a fact.
And that's what I do. I take a look at somebody's service, and I'm honest with my clients. I let them know if we do have a claim that we can put in, how we need to go about it, what they need to do, what I will do. And, I like to think I'm pretty successful.
What are some of the most common disability ratings that people wouldn't think might get them some disability? Like,
I see a lot of stuff with like the acoustic trauma, the hearing loss, the ringing in your ears. Most veterans have some type of noise exposure, due to the jobs that they had in the military. But just, the simple military life's not easy, and you may have, injured your ankle or your knee or your low back or something like that in service, and it's turned into a chronic disability, just simple things like that. I get a lot of Vietnam era veterans and spouses who's, have developed some type of cancer due to Agent Orange exposure. And then you have, people like from my era that served in Desert Storm 1 all the way up to the most recent Middle East conflicts, that are having some pretty significant health problems, and they're eligible for benefits simply because of where they're at in the world.
Are those claims a little bit harder to justify or to prove, or
they're actually incredibly easy to prove?
Are they really?
Yeah. Basically, the way that works out, let's say this is what I've been seeing a lot of, prostate cancer with a Vietnam vet. Guy walks in, says, I can't prove that I was exposed to Agent Orange, but I was in Vietnam. I looked at the DD-214. I see that he has a Vietnam service medal. I said, let me see the pathology report, and they give me the pathology report, and they have active prostate cancer. I take that, DD-214, fill out a 4-page form, send it off, and with these claims, they're coming back in 3 weeks at 100%.
Wow.
So, just simple stuff like that. Gulf War era veterans, one of my clients has appendial cancer. Never heard of a cancer of the appendix, but it's a thing. And DD-214, Southwest Saves a Service Medal, pathology report, 100% disabled in less than a month.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad to hear that, because, we've, for a lot of years, the VA has got a bad rap for, everything taking absolutely forever. So that really does make me happy to know that they're speeding that process up and getting these folks some relief.
Yeah, there are sometimes claims take a little bit longer, but I can usually identify that early on and just let them know that, hey, this one's going to take a little bit longer, but don't worry.
Is there anything in particular that causes that, like for one to be much longer than the other?
Yes. So anytime we're doing a claim for environmental exposure, the VA has to take a look at the military records and basically concede their exposure. Okay. Now, it's not that you ever had to have seen Agent Orange, been sprayed with it, saw the jungle in Southeast Asia at any time, or saw a burn pit, or anything else like that in the Middle East. But they have specialists that take a look at all that, and they say, oh yeah, he was there. So it's conceded you were exposed. And then it goes back into the actual disability claim process. I mean, it's kind of generally how it works, but it takes a little bit longer. However, it doesn't take years. Okay. And that's where it's important to get a veteran service officer that actually knows what they're doing, cares about their job, and will work you through the process. It's sometimes difficult to find one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
And so how are you guys separated geographically? Like how many areas do you cover? What's your workload generally? I mean,
So I'm accredited through the VFW, so I don't really have any territory. And even when I was accredited by a different organization, I did what I wanted, simply because if a veteran reaches out to me and they need help, I'm going to help them. I don't care where they're at. I have clients in Hawaii. I have clients in Louisiana, Florida, over on the East Coast, but I have some that, are down the street from my house. So it's just anybody that is looking for help, I'm going to help. My caseload or my workload, but this week I saw in 2 days, 25 clients.
Wow.
Okay. But at the end of the day, all my work was done because it's not that difficult of a process,
What is the absolute best way for, our clients or, our community that needs your help, whether it be here in the O'Fallon, Illinois area, or, we do some business in Tennessee, Florida, a lot of other states that'll be watching this. What's the best way for somebody that needs help to get a hold of a veteran service officer?
The best thing you can do is just go to their local VFW, AMVETS, American Legion. The VA hospitals have service officers. A lot of states have their own State Department of Veterans Affairs where they have offices, all over the state. That's the best thing that they could, do to get the help. It is possible to do it on your own. Okay, you can.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should, folks.
It's one of those things like, if you're having some kind of legal problems, you can navigate that process yourself, but it's much more beneficial to have somebody who knows what they're doing. Now, I don't work any magic, okay? I follow the 38 CFR. I fill out the forms like they need to be filled out. I cut down on all the extraneous work, because people will bring me in this big old long statement of their time deployed in Vietnam and watching the C-123s, spraying Agent Orange, and they were soaked in it. And I'm like, that's great, but we don't need that. You have your DD-214, that's all we have to show.
Right.
Sometimes too much information clogs up the claim process,
Yeah.
And I cut down on all that.
No, that makes sense. We're the same in the mortgage industry. Like, we put in the file what needs to be in the file. It just makes things a lot cleaner and simpler and easier.
When it goes to the underwriter's looking at all these documents when they need to look at those documents. They need to look at the ones they need.
Yeah, exactly. So with the VFW, what do you think is one of the absolute biggest benefits that people just miss? Something that they could qualify for or something they could get help with. They just don't think to ask, or it's just not put out there enough.
A lot of the service organizations, whether it's the VFW, American Legion, whatever, the local Veterans Assistance Commission, there's a lot of times they have, special programs for people that maybe they can't make their rent. The federal VA doesn't necessarily have emergency funding available, to get people helped out. The claims process, it can go quick, but if somebody is looking at, being evicted from their house or something like that, there is emergency funding, but it's different. It's not nationwide on who all has the funds available, but they just have to look out, do some research, find out, ask questions.
So each area, maybe each VFW or American Legion or organization might have their own budget or their own funding for those.
Yeah, because each the national VFW raises a certain amount of funding, okay, but also the local posts do. And you'll see that, their Friday fish fries, or they'll have some kind of special event, or a lot of times the canteens are open just to go in there and have $1 beer. All that profit gets rolled into that, local post, and there are special projects that get funded through that type of, activity.
That's awesome. So the VFW will accept donations from the public?
Oh yeah, they will. Yeah. If you walk in there and say, hey, I got $20 to donate to the VFW, there may be an officer there that can take the money, or the bartenders there. They know if somebody walks in and goes, hey, I got $20 I want to drop off, to donate to the VFW. each post commander has their special project,
Gotcha.
and it varies from year to year. But the ladies auxiliary, they do scholarships and things like that, to, high school kids. So yeah, they're always going to take money.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, everybody, because we get questions a lot like, hey, how can we get involved or how can we help? I might not have a lot of time, but is there a way I can make donations? So yeah, everybody, you can go to your VFW and have yourself a cold frosty beverage and leave a wonderful tip for your waiter or waitress, but you could also leave some money as a donation for the VFW.
Yep, absolutely.
Craig, I do have another question real quick about the veteran disability in reference to folks that maybe got out of the military 20 years ago. They had too much pride. They never tried to get any disability. Is there a cutoff or a statute of limitations? How does that work for somebody who served in Vietnam? They never, ever applied for anything.
Right.
How does that work?
It works the same as any other veteran. Now it becomes a little bit more difficult if we're talking about, physical injuries, okay, that you broke your leg and you have the residual effects of that broken leg. It becomes a little bit more difficult. It's not impossible. One of my clients I help out, he's 102 years old. He got out in 1945.
Is that Bob?
Yeah,
I got to meet Bob the other night. Yeah, what an amazing human being. World War II veteran, everybody, 102 years old.
Yep. And he has quite the stories to tell, but even somebody that got out in 1945 can still get VA benefits. It's just,
wow.
It just depends. Like I said, not every veteran is going to be disabled. The military life is tough. I have a lot of injuries from my time in service. The difference is I have nothing in my service treatment record. I can't prove to the VA that when I was going through the breach, that, I pretty much broke my ankle, get through the breach, my ankle hurts, it's killing me. Well, what am I going to do? Say time out, right? So the rest of the guys on the team have to take my pack, my radio, my binoculars, my maps, things like that. Nope. I grab some duct tape up my boot and just go on.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to, we're not that guy that's going to, put the load on somebody else, So yeah, I've got injuries residual from service, but I just don't have the proof, but there's other things that can be done. And I'll have those conversations with vets go, man, this is going to be tough to prove, but you know what? Since you served there, you have this. So we can get you VA compensation, but it's maybe not going to be for the exact things that you're thinking about. And that's where the veteran service officer comes in to go, all right, we can't prove this, but we can prove this pretty easy. And it's probably going to get you to the level where you need to be.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So when that happens, like, let's say somebody exited service 15 years ago and they get a disability rating today for something that was service connected. Do they back pay or how does that work? Because I've heard different stories on
right. So the general rule of thumb is when you first notify the VA that you're going to apply for benefits, that's when the back pay would start.
Okay.
All right. Now, if we're talking about, let's say they applied for VA benefits 20 years ago and they were denied. It is possible for me to dig into the paperwork, and if the VA made a clear and unmistakable error 20 years ago and they should have granted benefits and we can prove it, they would back pay for those 20 years at whatever percentage of disability. It is possible, okay? But again, not a lot of people even ask for the benefits then,
Right.
And my job when somebody comes in is to get them service connected, okay? And if it's a case like that, where it was 20 years ago and they tried and weren't successful, that's fine. I get them service connected, but then I take a look and go, all right, now did the VA make a clear and unmistakable error 20 years ago? And if they did, I notify them that they made a clear and unmistakable error and they should grant benefits with an effective date, in 2000.
God.
Yes, it is possible. But my main goal is just to get them the benefits right away.
What do you think's the best way to spread the word to folks out there? Because, I know, again, in the loan business that we're in, if somebody has applied for their disability rating prior to us closing their loan,
Right.
It could be years later that they get approved. If they get approved, they refund their funding fee back to the loan. So that's huge. That could be a lot of money.
Yeah, I benefited from that program because whenever I purchased my home, I had a pending claim. I was 0%, and it took 4 years for that particular claim to go through, but that's only because the service officer I used just gave me a lot of lip service, type of stuff, and didn't help me develop the claim because I had no idea what was going on. But eventually it went through, and, I gave the award letter to my lender, and, they refunded my VA funding fees. Now they don't give you a check right back. It goes into your principal. But if you're doing the 100% VA funding, and all of a sudden you have $4,000 in equity in a house you just bought, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it would take you a couple of years to get that much equity on a 30-year mortgage.
Oh, yeah. Now, would you recommend, I know it's not like you guys want our service members hopping back and forth between a bunch of veteran service officers, but if somebody's maybe not getting the service they thought they should, is that frowned upon, or is it okay for them to maybe reach out and get a second opinion from another veteran service officer?
No, I do that all the time where I talk to vets, about their pending claims. And under certain circumstances, I will take over their representation. But it just kind of depends. If they're sitting on a docket waiting to talk to the veterans law judge, I generally stay away from that because sometimes the work product isn't decent enough for me to do anything with. And the veterans law judge could make a decision in their favor based upon the evidence and record, but they could also send it back for some more development. And at that point, then I would take over. So the short answer is, if you got a question, come ask me, because I'll tell you like it is.
Good. Yeah, that's a really big point, everybody. Don't keep it a secret. Don't be shy. I mean, there's no questions you could ask that they're going to look down upon you. And just the level of stress and anxiety that I think a lot of people go through based on thinking they won't be approved or thinking they can't get help. Man, just pick up the phone. It costs nothing.
Right.
Yep. Craig, is there anything else in reference to the VFW or being a veteran service officer that you think the community or our veterans need to know?
The thing is, if you're a veteran, look and see what kind of benefits you have. And I know you have have clients, all over the Midwest. Each state is different. Illinois has some very good veterans benefits that a lot of people don't know about. Check your particular state. I'm not familiar with every state in the union, but I know Missouri has their own, Tennessee, Kentucky, and it's just, you have to ask, because it's not really advertised.
Right. Yeah. And everybody, it truly changes from county to county. I've been doing some work with a client in Chicago, in Cook County. And initially I reached out about the disabled veteran exemption because I kept hearing that if the house was 750 or more, they received no benefit at all. So I called St. Clair County and they said, yeah, if the house is 750 or more, you get nothing. I said, really? That doesn't sound right. I called Cook County, and Cook County said, no, you can buy upwards of over 800,000 with the exemptions. And I said, well, what happens if you go over that total exemption? They said, well, you only pay taxes on the difference. Where St. Clair County said, no, you'll have to pay the full tax. So make sure you're working, with a lender that knows what they're doing. If you're doing some of your own research, make sure and reach out to the county on your own. So everybody, we're obviously here with the H.O.M.E Foundation today, and the H.O.M.E Foundation's purpose is to get service members together that will take really good care of our first responders, our military, our law enforcement, and our firefighters. Not just take good care of them, but also get them discounts on services that they use every day. For instance, the Shoemaker Loan Team, through the H.O.M.E Foundation, we waive your origination charges on a loan, which is $1,776. We do it at a national average rate, which most mortgage companies, frankly, when they say they're doing something for you for free, they raise your rate so they can then pay for it. We don't do that. We make a $250 donation to a local 501c3 of your choice. If you don't have a choice, Midwest Wingfest, the H.O.M.E Foundation, VFW, Flagman's Mission Continues, there's some really, really good local causes that will make that donation. And Craig, the reason we've got you here today is that the H.O.M.E Foundation is going to be making a $500 donation to the O'Fallon VFW, just to get you guys a little bit of help and just show you how much that we care.
I really appreciate that, Doug. And the money will be used, to support local veterans. And, the VFW doesn't just do combat veterans. We help out all veterans, and, I work for the VFW, but you don't have to be a member to get my services either.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Thanks for bringing that up.
No, everybody, if you're a veteran, surviving spouse, it doesn't matter when they served.
Wow. Hey, everybody, we'll have Craig's information pop up on the video somewhere around here. And if you or someone you care about is a first responder and you're considering moving, or you just need, some professional services for your home, the H.O.M.E Foundation saves people thousands of dollars on average when you buy a home or sell a home. So make sure and reach out to us. And if you know somebody that's a professional service provider that you think we should meet, that we could maybe help them grow their business, we'd love to hear from them. Have a great day, everybody, and we hope to talk to you soon.